Yeah, for new levels I reach. Aim for the sky, don't settle for less. Realize that you are the best, so aim high. And my pursuit to go reach.
Y'all know what it is, family. Welcome to another episode of Rise Up Worldwide's radio show. Listen, we up to 292. Man, we getting real close to being at 300. You know what I mean? My man, DJ Lost and Found over here holding us down on the ones and twos and the videos. You know what I mean? He making it happen. Captain, salute to you, sir.
What's goody, bro? How are you?
I'm chilling, man. Listen, I am your host, Joe Boss, and I'm here to rock with you, have some colorful commentary, and keep things a little light. You know what I mean? Listen, man, I hope y'all are
Exactly.
ready to enjoy this episode because we got a lot in store. I'm telling you, you're really going to enjoy the things that we have to talk about. I think you're really going to enjoy the interview that we have coming up in the second hour um, with Ruslan. Um, huge, huge YouTuber, reactor, also huge artist. You know, he's got a catalog of work that speaks for itself. Um, also, we're gonna be talking about some money today. You know what I mean? We got two celebrities that had some really, really big windfalls, and we're gonna
hmm
talk about how that could affect them and how that can help them grow. Right? Also, we're gonna talk about Ed Reed, who is a nine-time Pro Bowler as well as a Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Ravens, and he was supposed to be the head coach of Bethune Cookman. Somehow it ain't work out. It
We're gonna talk
sucks.
about it.
It sucks. It was over before it started. And that's the terrible part about it. That's the worst part about it. You know what I mean? But we gonna get into it, man. Um, so before we do all that, man, Lost and Found, how was your week, bro?
Man, I forgot that we used to do this, bro. That I'm supposed to come prepared with how my week went. It's been a while since I had to do this, so
It's
the
been a
week went
while.
well,
So
man. The week was. It's been a while.
I can get
The week
started if
went
you want
well.
and then give you a moment.
It's all good. I got it. I got it. The week went well. Work is good. Is busy. Work is busy. So, whenever work is busy, that means that you got job security. So, I'll take it. And then the family as well. I got my mother in law down here who's living with us. She's moving down to Dallas. So she's been rocking with us for about 3 months now. But she's she that's good for the time. I can't complain. I can't complain. How about yourself?
Oh man, this last weekend was a little tough for your boy. I ended up getting strep throat somehow, which I don't know. And then now it has developed
Uh,
into like a really bad cold on top of the strep throat. So I'm taking my antibiotics. I'm taking, I'm doing what I got to do. It's just not clearing up. So I'm no longer in pain. Thank God. My
mhm,
throat no longer hurts. But I have this nagging cough and congestion that won't leave. So I'm still on
mhm,
antibiotics. Um, but God is good anyhow. Forced me to sit at home, start reevaluating some things anyway. So, I'm just taking this time to focus on me and put some priorities together and, make the best of a bad situation. Cause listen, like it's a difference between sore throat and strep throat. You know what I mean? That's like going from mild to super hot. They are not the same.
right, right.
They are not the same. So, so forgive me if my voice is a little lagging because with all of that, my tonsils were swollen, and like I said, I'm congested. But I'm still here, making it happen. And like I said, God is good anyhow. You know. Um, so listen, man. This is what we're gonna do, man. LNF. Let's jump into some music real quick, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about the rapper Flo Rida and Justin Bieber. So let's do it, man. Y'all know what it is. Make sure y'all subscribe on all social media at Rise Up Worldwide, and let's make it happen. Ooh.
Menace.
I'm familiar with defeat, knock down the fear to not keep me from getting up when I fall again. I just put the cycle on repeat. It's no surrender, no retreat. While competition's in deep sleep, I'm up early, I'm training hard because victories don't come easy. This is my shot, I give it all that I got till I'm put in the coffin to rot. Tell them all I will not give up. If they root against me, I just make it harder to watch. Got faith in God and I believe in me, so my expectation is greatness. I heard them haters say I was done to be second guessing that statement.
I will fall, and I dissolve and fade away. Well, I'm appalled, despite the odds. I ain't afraid to fight with all my might and brawl. This ain't the day I die, cause God will fight my war. Though I fall down, they will not keep me. I'm bouncing right back. It won't be easy to defeat me. I'm bouncing right back. Though I fall down, they will not keep me. I'm bouncing right back. It won't be easy to defeat me. I'm bouncing right back. I'm bouncing right back.
This is the quote, they trying to keep my back up against the ropes, but ain't nobody backing up, we can go. I got a plan to attack him if he provokes. Know that I'm coming, I'm swinging, I'm scary like Mike Tyson. Be aware that I might fight him. If you dare, you can try fighting. If you can't, you be right by me, doing life by me. Let's go. My comeback will shock the world just like I'm Buster Douglas, but still I'm a Buster Rhyme. I went from a dungeon dragon till I won in public, and still I'm gonna testify. I fight like a champion, but I'm an underdog. All of my competition, you are gonna fall. I am a warrior, I do not run at all.
I will fall, and I dissolve and fade away. Well, I'm appalled, despite the odds. I ain't afraid to fight with all my might and brawl. This ain't the day I die, cause God will fight my war. Though I fall down, they will not keep me. I'm bouncing right back. It won't be easy to defeat me. I'm bouncing right back. Though I fall down, they will not keep me. I'm bouncing right back. It won't be easy to defeat me. I'm bouncing right back. The haters pray that I will fall, and I dissolve and fade away. Well, I'm appalled, despite the odds. I ain't afraid to fight with all my might and brawl. This ain't the day that I just God will fight my war. Though I fall down, they will not keep me. I'm bouncing right back. It won't be easy to defeat me. I'm bouncing right back. Though I fall down, they will not keep me. I'm bouncing right back. It won't be easy to defeat me. I'm bouncing right back. I'm bouncing right back.
Y'all know what it is, man. Rise Up Worldwide in the building, man. Let me tell y'all, we out here having a good time. We out here. That music was just fire. You know what I mean? Like Datin been one of the dopest lyricists out. You know what I'm saying? Been one of the dopest lyricists out. And then like I'm just really getting to know Monster Tarver. And listen, bruh, he is a monster. He is that. So listen, what can you say, right? But listen, this is what we doing, man. I want to talk to y'all quickly about this situations with Flo Rida and Justin Bieber. Now, the situations are not related, right? That they didn't have anything to do with um with each other, right? But both of them had significant financial wins that I wanted to address because listen, sometimes when you get a win like that, listen, you gotta celebrate that. Like real talk, you just gotta celebrate it. So first off, the rapper Flo Rida was in a lawsuit against energy drink Celsius, which he had been promoting since about 2014 up until 2018. So over a 4-year period. Um, I read through different articles at the time. um, when he started, their stock price was right around $1, maybe a little less. And through his promotions and getting other people to promote, their stock price significantly soared, right? Um, the details are a little blurry, but essentially, they offered him about 1% ownership, right? That's what a dollar amount wasn't specified at the time, but it was about 1% ownership. And when you have ownership in the company, for those of you that don't know, what they're really offering you is stock. So they offered him a significant amount of stock, right? So what he found out some years later is that they actually had not had not given him the amount of stock that he was supposed to own, which has resulted in a significant amount of money that he did not receive, especially since they became much more popular through his promotions. So on, fast forward 2023, he recently won the lawsuit against them, and the money that he's going to be awarded comes out to a grand total of $82.6 million.
Mm.
$82.6 million. Drop a bomb for that, DJ Lost and Found. Like, I don't know what y'all know. If I won a lawsuit for 82.6 million, listen, that point six, I'm going shopping. I'm telling y'all right now. That point six, I'm going shopping. Now the 82, I'm gonna do my best to manage it. Being that I'm a financial advisor, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to make sure I will never go broke again, right? And that the legacy that I'm gonna leave my family will be the same thing. They'll never be broke, right? But I am gonna go shopping with that point six, and I'm a time too. You know what I mean? Because I do believe in that, right? So that that money now, Flo Rida, let me tell you, he's definitely sitting pretty. He's definitely got to be a much happier person. And the lesson in that is to make sure you have good lawyers, right? Because it was his lawyers that found out, what expected. Now, up until this moment, as of the end of 2022, Flo Rida's net worth was only between 40 to 50 million. His total net worth was only between 40 to 50 million. So now from this one lawsuit, he's almost tripled his wealth. If he's at 40 million, now he should be at 120. That's tripling your net worth from one lawsuit.
Mhm.
Make sure this is why you have to make sure you keep up with your contracts. You have to make sure that you have good lawyers that represent you and are on your side. And you have to make sure that you read the fine print. Sometimes you might miss something small, tiny. That small, tiny little something in writing can cost you a lot of money, right? So that's how
Word.
that worked out for Flo Rida. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I'm understanding correctly, part of the reason why they got away with this for so long is because he didn't have his accounting in order, where he wasn't actually checking his books. You know what I mean? So that's the
Mm-hmm.
gifts and the curse with money, right? When you get you hear this over and over with celebrities that they obviously have a whole lot to do, but even talking about like Fat Joe recently, he was like he looks at all of his money now because people be stealing from him. You know what I mean, so at that level and dealing with that amount of money, you've got to have your business in order. Uh, and neither one of us is there, right? So how do you even get the trustworthy accountants that are going to do the job, not steal from you? You know what I mean, and report exactly what they should. That's a question, maybe by referral, but you got to get there, and you know what I mean. Otherwise, that's generational wealth. You know what I mean?
It
You said
sure
he tripled
is.
his worth. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro.
Tripling. Tripling. You know what I mean? Because if he was
Hmm.
worth 40, he's worth 122 now. in one lawsuit. That means overnight because they got to pay that out.
Right.
They might be giving them some time, but essentially they got it. You know what I mean? I've seen
Yep.
Celsius energy drinks a lot of places down south. You don't really see them up here in New York too often, but I've seen them for sure.
So I've never
On
seen
to
it.
other. You've never seen it?
I've never seen
No,
it.
they're
It's new to
pretty
me.
big. Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen them before.
Okay.
You know what? If you don't really drink a lot of energy drinks, you might not have seen them. But
Nah, straight
I
water,
usually
bro.
drink them for sure when I'm traveling. Like if I'm on a road trip, because I
Okay.
like taking road trips, I definitely get an energy drink for sure. On
Okay.
to other news now. The other part of this money situations that I'm talking about with y'all is I'm gonna talk to y'all about Justin Bieber, right? Hey, LNF, I'm gonna leave it up to you. Should we play another video or should we just go right into it?
Let's get into it. Let's get into a video. Let's get into a video.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back. I'm gonna talk to you about Justin Bieber. And then that's how we're gonna make it happen, man. Make sure y'all subscribe at Rise Up Worldwide on all social media. And please, please, for the love of God, share this stream on your timeline. All right. It don't cost you nothing, but it means the world to us. Let's do it.
Set it off. I keep a cannon, I let it off. I let it blame on the predator. It's got over money, etc. etc. I'ma set it off. I keep a cannon, I let it off. I let it blame on the predator. It's got over money, etc. etc. I got a mission, I'm riding, I'm fishing. I'm light with a flip if you get in the way. The light I've been given provided the vision. The liars and villains are filling away. I got a feeling they getting replaced. I got a gift and I'm itching to spray. They mine in the prison when I'm in the kitchen. I'm writing and whipping or giving away. About that life we living in. Spicing, I keep slipping in. Light beam Christ delivered it. My team high keep killing it. Glory to God, we giving it. Mercy and grace, we living it. Fall short, he forgiving it. On court, they was skipping it. I got a dream, people will know Jesus more than even before. Now that they peep evil awoke, they see in the earth reap what it's so. I got a feeling he finna show up within the next century or so. And when he do show where to go up, get in the whip if you finna roll. Set it off. I keep a cannon, I let it off. I let it blame on the predator. It's got over money, etc. etc. I'ma set it off. I keep a cannon, I let it off. I let it blame on the predator. It's got over money, etc. etc. In it for the most high, oh my, no life, don't try, Christ can't go mine, yeah. I don't wanna blow my whole life on a gold mine. When I go, my soul die, yeah. Do it for the ones in gutter. This bout guns and butter. It's a whole lot of haters, but this for the ones that love us. Never gonna shut up, whether or not the numbers ever do run up. I'ma rep mine for the next 9 summers. Protect mine with a tech 9, don't run up. I know it's hard loving your enemy, but I gotta remember what he said to me. Eventually you gotta become what you pretend to be. He forgave me and said keep the same energy. Amen, let it be. Set it off. I keep a cannon, I let it off. I let it blame on the predator. It's got over money, etc. etc. I'ma set it off. I keep a cannon, I let it off. I let it blame on the predator. It's got over money, etc. etc.
Yeah. Whew. Man,
Bizzle.
listen,
He's back.
GOM out here killing them. Straight up and down, doing their thing, man.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's the only way you can even bring it up. Like they just doing their thing. So listen, let's
100%.
100%. You know what I mean? So listen,
100%.
let's talk about Justin Bieber. Right? I can't believe I didn't really see myself talking too much about Justin Bieber when I put this show together, but here we are. Right?
Don't sleep.
So
Don't sleep.
listen. Justin Bieber, he's only 28 years old. He's released 6 studio albums between 2010 and 2021, as well as several remix and compilation albums, right? He recently sold the rights to his music in a deal worth about $200 million.
Mm,
$200
mm,
million. Man,
gee.
let me tell you something right now. If I had 200 M's, I promise you, things would be different. If I had Flo Rida's 82 million, things gonna be different. But
It better be.
so let me tell you something, right? And I had to think about this for a long time, right? First off, he's the youngest person ever to sell the rights to his music. Generally, the deal that he took is it in the acquisition. It does rank, excuse me, one of the biggest deals ever made for an artist under the age of 70. Right? Normally, artists don't sell the right to their music until they're up in age. Justin Bieber at only 28 could technically still come out with a whole slew of new music, but he sold the rights to his existing music, right? And he did that for 200 million, right? Now, my first thought as an advisor was that, bruh, that's not a smart thing to do. If they'll give you 200 now, that means it's probably worth 500 to a billion later over time. You know what I mean? And taking that short term gain, yeah, it seemed good right now. And granted, listen, getting 200 million, that ain't like that's pocket change. That's more than enough money to last generations of his family. Like you could live off the interest and get close to 10 million a year in interest. You would never have to touch the principal. You know what I'm saying? If you got 5% of interest, you get $10 million a year, not including what his existing net worth is before that, right? Because that could have been extremely high, which I'll look that up here in a second. So, with that being said, though, if he has a plan in place, this 200 million could just be seed money for his next big investment outside of music, right? If he took this 200 million, let's say he bought 200 million in real estate, right? Real estate is forever going to increase in price. It may have
Mhm.
dips in the market, but as the population continues to grow, there's only so much earth on this planet. There's only so much earth. And if you own 200 million worth of it, then yeah, it is crazy, right? So as I was just looking up, right, you could Google it. Justin Bieber's, excuse me, his net worth, I guess before this transaction. I don't know if it's before or after. I'm going to assume that it was before because this is as of January 4th. His net worth was 285 million. So now with this deal, he's close to half a billy.
I'm conflicted.
He's up to half a billy.
I'm
So go ahead, tell me why are you conflicted?
So for me, I'm not Justin Bieber, obviously, right? But I know that with music, especially you selling the ownership rights to your music, that's where most of the money is made, is in the ownership. Sync deals,
Yes,
he's not getting paid for
placement.
sync deals for the songs anymore, right? He's not getting money from radio or from what is Sirius XM radio, which pays really well. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
there's a lot of money on the table that he's leaving by selling his ownership off. For 200 still for me, unless maybe there is like a religious conviction that he has, I'm thinking, and maybe he
Hmm.
wants to associate maybe possibility because I believe he dropped the album in 2020. That was a Christian album. So that could be what's
Yeah.
going on here. But then also maybe if it was just for the money, I think huge miss. You're I don't think you're even 30 yet. And you have at least 40 more years to where your music can be played in movies. You're Justin Bieber. You're getting the biggest checks there are out here, right? The only bigger
Mhm.
artist is probably like Bad Bunny. So to me, I don't know. I'm curious as to what was the motivation behind it. If I was his advisor, I would have been like, nah, bro, you're not doing that. It's not
You
worth the quick
tripping.
gain. It's yeah, you bugging. Yeah.
That see, and like I said, I personally had my thoughts about it too. Like, bro, you out here bugging, right?
Hmm.
But like I said, if he has a plan to do something with that 200 million, then it's worth it because some investments are going to grow faster and some investments are going to do better than what he would eventually get over music, right? Because in the long run, yes, that music's going to make a lot of money, but the investment, if he's smart, again, I
Yeah.
don't know what his ideas are, right? But there's a lot you can do with 200 million. Trust and believe. If he got with somebody like Grant Cardone, who's huge into real estate, or if he started, maybe he's investing in the next Google platform, or something huge, something in technology, right? That
Okay.
200 million could grow to a billy real quick in
Okay.
something in tech.
It's true.
So
That's true.
that's what I'm saying. Like, he could have just been trying to get the quick influx of cash so that he could be moving towards another investment, which in that case, that's smart because what he could do once that investment grows, he can always buy it back if it works out, of
Hmm.
course. He could buy it back, right? Money talks.
Right.
If he takes this 200 and turn it into a billy, then he has to buy his music back for, let's say, 250 or even 300. He still profited 700 million. So
Hmm.
it will have been worth it. It will have absolutely been worth it. I'm sure at his level, his money's just not sitting in the bank earning interest. I'm sure he has investments out there that we may not know about. Or at
Right.
least he has somebody investing for him. Because when you're talking about the numbers that these celebrities are making, they have advisors and they have people to help them. So I am personally going to assume that he's doing his thing and that he's it's a smart investment. But if he's not, then yes, it's absolutely foolish. And only time will tell.
And even who he sold it to, this company I think has now spent $2 billion uh, gathering artists' music. To me, there's
Hypnosis.
something. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
something is wrong there, bro. Like they're doing the business, but if you're talking about an artist who's 70 years old, they don't care. You know what I mean? They're selling their rights, all their rights to their music into perpetuity, and they're giving that money to their grandkids or something like that, their kids. I can see that. Justin Bieber in the prime of your life, I don't understand that. And then now you're building what could be in the now. I'm going to be watching out for them. Monopoly, where they
With
they own
hypnosis,
all
yeah.
this different music.
Yeah.
They're in bed with these streaming companies or whoever's running music at that point. Yeah, that's something is fishy there for me personally.
I agree with you.
Even though it's the business,
I agree with you. But whatever their business plan is, it's got to be like something crazy, right?
right?
Because they own a ton of music, right? When
Right.
you spend 2 billion in rights for different people, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not playing.
Hmm.
You're not playing with this. You're really making something happen when it comes to um placement and all the things like that. So it, it's safe to say they're playing the long game. They're playing the long game, right? I'm gonna give you this up front because I got money right now, but I know I'm gonna make it back and then some in the long game.
Absolutely.
They are building legacy wealth, right?
And they got your catalog. They got your catalog, and they even have the stuff that's not released. It's not only just released music; it's also stuff that's not released. So, and you know, I don't hope Justin Bieber passes away or nothing like that. But let's say if he did last year, there's gonna be a Tupac type album that comes out with all of these, you know what I mean, all these Justin Bieber heaters, you know what I mean, featuring everybody.
I'm telling you.
You know what I mean? And then once you're gone, you're worth more. That music is gonna be, they're gonna get paid. So you know, I don't want to.
But listen, I mean, again, Justin Bieber is still young enough. He's still young enough where he could create, 6 more albums, if not more than that. He's only 28, right? If he can do that at this young of an age and make this kind of an impact, right? Because let's be honest, his audience has grown up with him. You know what I mean? They're going to be loyal to him, right? Certain people I grew up with, I'm going to be loyal to. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever Nas drops, I'm going to listen to it. It is what it is. If 50 came out with a new album, right? That was when I was, college. 50 comes out, I'm listening to it. I'm going to at least check it out. You know what I mean? Even though I don't really get into secular music like I used to, I'm still going to at least check it out. You know what I'm saying?
Not even I'm not even that type of TV anymore.
I hear you. To each his own. But the majority of us will at least check it out.
Loyal. Right.
So anyway, listen, let's get into some music. When we come back, I'm gonna do my Invest in Yourself, and it's gonna be called Ownership Matters. And I'm gonna sum all of this up. Ownership Matters. All right. So LNF, load us up with some music, and let's get going.
We've been trying to give him the keys. Let's go, Wiz.
Hey, everybody trying to figure where the God go. He never leave us or forsake us on the road to die slow. The seed is the word, put the word in the ground. No deeds on the weeds, never beat the dirt down. They clueless, hey, they clueless, hey, they clueless, hey, they clueless, hey. A seed cannot produce its fruit unless it lies in dirt, church, and if hollow meets a graveyard. Kind produces after self. If what's produced is foul, then check the fruit that you're made of. I'm on my brave heart. He gave a trademark designed by the word. Move good like a freight car. Body that I safeguard. Idols don't take part. Brandon the ark. Remove the head of thighs of Dagon. We on Gideon. They want idioms. I want Vision. Nothing that he isn't on. The widow and the orphan. That's religion. The law is where my heart is. That's what it's written on. When evil's unbearable. Speaking in parables. Never equal speech. So we'll speak of the peak of the peril and variables. Do they even care at all? All the worries will wear it though. But the ground that they planted and vanished and they don't bear it all. If salt would lose its savor, tastelessness. Your fault, you lose your favor, faithlessness. Forsake your past, take his past, grasp, take his staff. Don't break it fast and fake your death. Sow it by the waters, by the lakes and the borders, where the angels wait for orders, take 4 corners. If it don't grow peachy, then create your Georgia. If it don't grow briefly, then you wait for August. Nobody beside him, so use your help. How come you with the highest and I choose my realms? Wanna see God prove himself? Put the word in the ground and you watch God produce himself. Everybody trying to figure where the God go. He never leave us or forsake us on the road to die slow. The seed is the word, put the word in the ground. No deeds on the weeds, never beat the dirt down. They clueless, hey, they clueless, hey, they clueless, hey, they clueless.
I've been here with the winds and the waves, disoriented days, dealing with my doubts, disorderly the phase, caught up in the fields, I wonder in the maze when it don't add up, I wonder in amazement, wow. Mama took the vaccine, people like a vacuum, I'ma need my backs on overflow, tearing down a black queen, gunning down a black man, I'ma need my gat on overload, separate the silver from the races, some will probably never touch bases, face it, socially the media be makeshift, fabricated foolishness, I wave it like a case if I come from a place where biblically complacent, should be in a place where biblically my faith sit, searching for a word, God. Call myself a wordsmith, answering your word, God. It'll make the earth shift, manifest. You know manifest, where they walk 40 years in a manifest. Got water from a rock, made you sweat. With a grape so big and a giant slept. But we still complain in the perfect dress. Like God ain't perfect, whether life or death. We either deaf or dumb, but I'm rather dumb. Long as a whiz in the front when I start to dumb. Rest wheeze.
Everybody trying to figure where the God go. He never leave us off, forsake us on the road to die slow. The seed is the word, put the word in the ground. No deeds on the weeds, never beat the dirt down. They clueless, ay. They clueless, ay. They clueless, ay. They clueless, they clueless, ay. They clueless, ay. They clueless, ay. They clueless, they clueless, they clueless. They clueless. They clueless.
That.
Y'all know what it is. Rise Up Worldwide in the building, man. Big shout out to Malachi 4040. I see you on the check-in. Appreciate you logging in. Big shout out to my man DJ Chris on the mix. Appreciate you for tuning in. And everybody out there that's been rocking with us, man. I'm loving these sound effects, LNF, man. I feel like Kobe and Shaq in here right now. You know what I mean? We're about to make this thing rock.
Yeah.
So listen, you know what I mean? So listen, what I want to give y'all is the invest in yourself tip. The reason I spoke about those two situations before with Justin Bieber and Flo Rida is I wanted to drive home the point that ownership matters, right? These are two situations in where the fact that they actually owned said investment, either stock in the company or the rights to their music, because they owned it, they were able to make huge, they were able to raise huge amounts of capital, right? They were able to raise a lot of money, right? Flo Rida, because he owned stock, was able to get 82.6 million. Justin Bieber, because he owned the rights to his music, was able to get 200 million. Huge things, right? So here's what I'm talking about when I say ownership matters. When you are the owner of whatever it is, it could be your home, your investment, whatever it is, right? You control the investment. For example, I'm gonna use home ownership. That's the one most people can relate to and understand, right? When you own your own home, you have the right to control it, meaning you can decide to make adjustments to that home. You can fix things up or not, which I wouldn't suggest. You can upgrade. You have a legal right to be there, right? So let me talk you a couple of things that ownership gives you that when you don't own, you don't have. This is basically like owners versus renters, right? When you own the land that you live on, you have a legal right to make the adjustments as needed, right? Now, obviously, you have to go through certain counties to do certain adjustments, but in general, if you own a plot of land, you can build a house there. If you rent, you have no say over how the property looks. The only thing you can control is the furniture that you put in it. And sometimes you can't even control that because depending on the property, you can't even put a washer and dryer in there. You can't control the paint colors on the walls. But if you own, you can do whatever you want, right? T.I. said that you can do whatever you like. Hey, you know what I'm saying? When you own, right, you want to nurture that seed, right? What do I mean by nurture? You want to take care of it. Nobody buys a house and just trashes it, right? Now, you may not necessarily be a handyman. I'm not a handyman, right? But you want to take care of your stuff, clean up behind yourself, make sure that, your family's comfortable, make sure you got heat in the house, make sure that, your doors are locked at night, right? Because you don't want anybody coming into your house. Because another thing you get when you own the property is you can control who has access to your property, right? You control that. If you own the land, police legally can't come on your land unless they have a search warrant or your permission. Those are the only two times they can come onto your property, is if they have a search warrant or you give them permission, right? That's when they can come on your land. That's it. So make sure that you own, right? Thirdly, let's say you decide you want to sell that land. When you own, you set the price. You can set the price. Now, obviously, you want to do it within reason, but technically, you don't have to. If your property, let's say you and look at online, they say your property is worth 200, but you know the type of work you put into your property, you can set the price to 300 if you want to. You're unlikely to sell, but you can do it because you own the property. And this is what I'm talking about, ownership matters, right? Back to the artist, Flo Rida. Flo Rida just won a lawsuit for $82.6 million because he legally owned the stock. They tried to put him. They tried to play him as something, but because he legally had a right to it, they had to pay up, right? And probably had to pay more for damages, which doesn't go all like that into, the breakdown, but it did include damages, right? Justin Bieber, because he owned his music, had a huge catalog, he sold it for $200 million because his paperwork was right and he owned his music, right? He's only 28 years old, and before this transaction, he was already worth 285 million. Some places have him at 400 million. Either way, he's about at a $500 million right now, right? He's a whole half a billy goat. You know what I'm saying? That's because he took ownership and what he needed to do. Now, some of you, these numbers seem crazy. 82 million, 200 million. And they are, right? But what can you start on right now that you can have some ownership in, right? Real simple. There's a lot of things. You could take ownership of your home. You could take ownership of your car by paying it off and not leasing it. You could take ownership of life insurance. Some of you don't even have that. Some of you don't even have that. Own your life insurance policy, right? Because it'll give you some cash back later, and we could talk about that. But that's basically it. I'm going to wrap this up by letting you all know that ownership matters.
So I'm glad that we made the move. Even my family, you're talking about housing, right? So I'm glad that we bought when we did, you know what I mean, during the pandemic or the height of the pandemic. Because we got into the we're in the third, we're in the fastest growing county in the nation. And now,
Wow.
you know, the price that we bought the home at, now it has gone up almost double. You know what I mean, so now we have a lot of equity in the home. So if we wanted to, you know what I mean, take a loan out on some of that, and utilize that for some business or something, that is an option now. But that doesn't happen.
Wait, so how long you been in Texas now? 2 years?
Not even 2 years, bro. A year and a half.
A year and a half, and the price of your property has doubled. Ownership matters. That means you moved at the right time, bro. Ownership matters.
Yeah. And we moved later than we expected to. Yeah. Yep. So absolutely it matters. And I encourage you that if you see a good deal that makes sense for your family, don't stay put. Go ahead and take a chance. I mean, we had to take a chance. Yes, we had to leave family. All of our families, for the most part, is in the Northeast. But we had to do honestly what was good for and right for us and be good stewards of what God has given us, right? And I felt like the best way to do that was to go to Texas, take this opportunity that made sense down here in Texas. The house is great. You know, we have a great church home. So absolutely, man, ownership, it matters. And I encourage you to own.
It makes all the difference.
Please.
Man, it literally makes all of the difference because, like, imagine if you had moved down there 2 years ago and you had just decided to rent. You could have, and you probably could have rented in Texas. You probably could have rented a large place for pretty cheap. And then you said, all right, we're going to get ourselves settled in and then we're going to buy.
It's getting expensive down here too.
I'm sure it is. But what I'm saying is,
it's not making sense.
What I'm saying is, imagine though, if you had moved down there the easy route and just rented and said, we're going to wait a year, then we're going to buy.
Right.
You would literally, your mortgage would be double what it is right now.
Yes.
Just because you decided to take ownership and decided to step out on faith. And that's amazing, man. Ownership matters. Listen, let's go. Let's take a break, man. Let's get into some music. Y'all know how we do, man. Rise Up Worldwide. Make sure y'all sharing the stream on your platforms, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff, man. We appreciate you. And subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the show on our YouTube channel. If you want to check the audio versions, we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, pretty much anywhere that you can listen to audio podcasts. We are there. All right. Listen, stay tuned. Stay blessed. Friend Joe Scott, I'm a senior financial professional of the Rise Up Agency, where we make it by providing elevated support for future-proof living. 2023, and it's time to make this the best year. We would like to see and have a financial review, which should be done annually. Here's why. When you go over your life situations, you have to think about things like, did you start a new job or a business? Did your family increase with the birth of a child? On the other hand, did someone away? What about a teen going to college or getting their first job after college? All of these are good reasons why we need to sit down and review. So let's sit down or set up a virtual meeting. Real simple. You can either scan the QR code above, or you can go to the website, www.riseupfinancialagency.com, and you'll be able to book an appointment there. All right? Let's take 15 to 30 minutes of your time and set you up for a proper future. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.
All right, Miles, here we go. Ready in 3, 2, wait, hold on. Hey, can you give me a drink real quick? I'm kind of thirsty.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem.
Must be a new flavor. All right, get ready for playback.
Hey, bro, you good?
Hey, why they sleeping on me like a Sandman? Devil pull up on me, he a dead man. I remember I was recording on that webcam. Now I'm balling on TV like it's Space Jam. In my city, living lawless like it's no police. Hearts frozen, going stupid like it's no degrees. I be coolin' in Jerusalem, I've been overseas. I be speaking my own language, call it Glopanese. Passport holder, Bible toter, big glower. Property owner, big photos, big sowers. Destiny driven, big winning, big minute. Who is you kidding? We did it, we get it. Now you know I'm in the hand of God, I'm in the plan of God. I'm pulling up, I'm in the lamb of God, I'm just a man of God. And I'ma show you how to walk it out and how to live it out. I'll show you how to kick the demons out, cause it's your season now. I got those evil thoughts, try to hold me, try to hold me. Backwards I am never going, busy glowing. Living water, but I'm rolling. Where we going? You place the enemy controlling, overthrowing. Big vision, big dreams, big Bible on my hip. Big. How we moving, how we do it, finna watch us do it big, do it real big, do
Yes, sir.
What up,
Yo,
up,
what's
man?
up, Craig?
It's your bro, what's up, man? It's always a treat when players meet, man.
Every time, man,
yes,
every
sir.
time. But yo, you ready for this video, though?
Yes, let's get it, man. Where the director at?
Good to glow.
Whoa.
I'm an east sider, a rider from the bottom of Cali. Up the second to the bait and right back down to the valley. I got reputables for messing with this music and mission. 116 inside the prison, yeah, we glowing and get it. You better do it big, do it big, do it real big. All my family reppin' Jesus doing real biz. They don't smoke compared to God, exotic feel mid. From Vallejo down to Dago, they gon' feel this. I'ma pull my rank, I'ma bet he ain't. Lead a movement for a decade before you see my planks. Make your little bros a milli before you get to acting silly. Turn a deal into a dilly before you speak my name. I've been stepped on, I've been priced out. Preach God at the White House. Show rap what Christ bout, and they still wanna turn my lights out, boy. Now you know I used to teach what you learning, but go on do it big with your sermon. I'm rooting for you. Big, 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 big vision, big dreams, big Bible on my hip. Big, 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 big. How we moving, how we do it, finna watch us do it big, big, do it real big, real big, do it big, big, do it real big, real big. Oh my God, do it big, do it real, real big. Yeah, my squad do it big, do it real, real big.
Y'all gotta blame Jay for this one. Yeah. You know it.
Look, I ain't waiting on a move from y'all. I'd rather choose the call. I got Uno life, but I know who choose the cards. Rapping at 10, been at it for 10. I'm back on the road, I'm packing again. I signed to myself, my manager win. The ministry launched from a pad and a pen. And they thought it wouldn't happen. Truly, it happened again. Faith is in the preparation, so at the destination, I get the mapping again. Know that my audience won. I do not check if they clapping for him. I trust that he's sending it ups. UPS, that package is sent. Dropping this after the album out. 10K my hours, 1,000 miles. Know that my God in the browser now. Strapped with the truth that'll rally a crowd. I'ma keep driving and 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 driving. Like I won't leave the roundabout. Look, my God is the biggest. I shouldn't be here, but I made it today, so I'm lifting the praise. Never was taking the easy route with all of my trips to NWA. Me and TJ in a white Crown Vic going 5 over 80, roll running the state. Walk in the dark trying to find me a way. Walk in the dark, pray I bump into grace. Clearly God had a plan for me. Eager as a child, I was running wild, spending all my quiet time sitting down, asking God what the plan to be. I ain't even have a plan in place to prepare for the plan He planned for me. Now I spend all of my time planning for all of the souls He plan to reach. I was like 20 with passion, and you couldn't tell me no.
Rise Up Worldwide, we back in the building, man. I hope y'all enjoying this new format, man, where we actually playing the full music video for you guys, man, taking advantage of technology the best way that we can, man. Lost and Found, I know you mentioned to me before that we were going to talk about Coach Ed Reed, I guess formerly of Bethune Cookman. So lead the way, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ed Reed, who you might know from the Baltimore Ravens, former Baltimore Raven, former All-Pro, he got a coaching gig with BCU, but then Cookman, right? Basically, what happened was he agreed to join the college as their. Fortunately, once he the college or the university, I should say, he was very upset. Right now, if you haven't seen in the news, they're actually got their students are protesting actively right now because the school they're in Central Florida. They had a hurricane that came through. It ravaged the school. So now they're dealing with issues of mold. They're dealing with issues of just inhabitable places, right? And now they're having backlash because people are saying, "Why isn't this fixed?" The hurricane was back in September of last year, and they're still going through the issues of trying to clean up and rebuild. So the issue with Coach Reed is he came out on social media and he blasted him. He put him on blast. For that, he was fired. You can't. He acted, and for that reason, he lost his position. So he wasn't even formally he was still in talks to become the head coach, but it did look like a couple weeks ago that it was going to come through 100%. And people are upset. People are saying that some people are saying that he is right to be upset. You know what I mean? He had 3 kids who were I don't know if they're like blue chips, but 3 really good kids who came to play strictly for him. I was watching a interview last night where he said he turned down the Jackson State job. He turned down, I think, Grambling as well to go to BCU. And this is the type of situation that he's walked into unknowingly. So there are a lot of issues, and I'm curious, like, what are people's thoughts?
I think for me, I think it's unfortunate when you walk into a situation like that, and before you can really even get started, they basically take it from you, right? Like it was almost like they held the carrot in front of the stick. You know what I mean? They held out the carrot and then gave him the stick. You know what I mean? Pause. But it's what they did, right?
I don't have a noise for that, bro. I don't have sound effects for that.
you need to get a pause.
I'm gonna get a pause
sound effect. Got to get a pause sound effect, right?
Whose man's is this? Right.
Who man's is this?
Oh, man.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite. But anyway, so like you said, he turned down jobs at Jackson State, winning school. Deion Sanders did his thing over there. You said he turned down another school, right? He came to a school that had a losing record of 2-9, right? With the idea that I'm coming here to turn things around, right? And before he could even have the opportunity to do so, they didn't even allow him to change it. They didn't even give him the opportunity because of a rant that he made where he had a few profane words. And in reality, he had the right to be upset because they didn't do the right things by him. They didn't do the right things. They didn't clean his office. They didn't they weren't taking care of the students and players.
Right.
But they're students too, because you got to be a student. But they weren't taking care of the students / players. Yes, the college was going through some things because of the hurricane. All of that is to be, you can understand, but if you're going through things like that, you also have to set the expectation as well, right? Or manage expectations.
Absolutely.
Really, because listen, I've learned being, a leader here in Rise Up, running a insurance agency, and being in sales. One of the most important things you can do is manage expectations, right? I'm not going to sell you a dream and then turn around and give you a nightmare, right? I'm going to tell you, listen, this is the situation. Here is where we are. Now, knowing where we are, if you still decide to work with us, here's what we can do. And I'm asking you up front to be patient because of our situation. Had they done that, I'm sure they could have worked this out better. But now it makes the school look bad because they basically let him go before anything, before he had an opportunity to make it work. It puts him in a bad situation because right now he has no job when he turned down other places. It puts his family in a bad situation because I'm sure he's the breadwinner.
Well, he's okay. He said
And
he's okay.
I'm sure he's okay, but he's an NFL player. I'm sure he's a
Yeah.
multimillionaire. But the point is, you know what I mean? A lot of times players aren't great at managing money. Hopefully he is. But if he's not, this could have put him in a bad situation. So there's a lot of things where this could have really went sideways or could be going sideways for him. And then it makes for anybody else that wants to come to the school like, yo, I don't know if I want to play here. I don't know if I want to as a student, as a player, you'd be like, I don't know if I want to play here. The 3 blue chip athletes that he brought in are probably going to jump right back into the portal.
So they can't. That's
They're
the thing.
Going to jump.
They can't. They have to stay. They have to stay for the year. So that was one of his major gripes, was that I talked these kids into coming, and I think they're all freshmen. He said, I talked these kids into coming to the school. They're the only reason he's the coach that they want to play for. And now you don't want to give me that opportunity because of these videos that I dropped, and you say they were unprofessional. Right? When you actually dig into it, or at least they're not getting any money from their alumni. They went from getting, I think, about 12% donations from their alumni down to under 0%. So the question is, why has that happened? And if there is any correlation to what the students are saying, that we don't have quality equipment for the football team, the boys are sharing helmets. They said that their stuff is moldy. You know what I mean? Like this is we're getting into health issues. I mean, for the school. So not only, and then even so, now it looks like a money grab, because this year and the next year they're projecting to have the most freshman students they've ever had at the school. It means more influx of finances, right? So it's very questionable, man. And I think you do have to look at President Drake, who's there. He's the interim president right now, because they have had some corruption. I think they had to get rid of their last president because of that. And the school almost shut down. Like they have a lot of issues. They have a lot of issues, and I think Coach Reed really has, from what I can gather, his heart is in the right place, and he really wants to take care of those young men. He really wants to coach them, to guide them, to be a mentor to them. And unfortunately, it seems like the school has some ulterior motives, and they're not being completely transparent with what's actually happening in the school.
They've handicapped them.
Yeah,
they've handicapped them. Unfortunately, that's the worst part of it. They've handicapped them. So, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I think the other part of that now. I beat up on the school. Let's be honest. Coach Reed don't really have a lot to blame but himself, right? When you join a family, let's say, when you're married, LNF, when you and your wife got engaged, and you really got to see what her family was like, right? And in any situation, there's certain things you're gonna like, certain things you may not like, regardless of. You don't air out dirty laundry when you just got here. You don't do that. So by him, say again.
I don't know.
Not because you're joining this family, so you're already setting a negative precedence. Granted, I'm not. Say it again.
I like addressing the issues. I like addressing the issue.
I'm not listen, addressing it is different than airing it out on social media. Two totally different things, right? If you and I got a problem, LNF, I'm gonna talk to you, right? I'm not gonna air you out on Instagram or Facebook before I talk to you, right? Because whatever problems me and you have, whatever problems me and you have, we should talk about this and come to a solution, right? Especially me being new to the situation, me being new to the family, right? And especially with him, he got the engagement, but he hadn't walked down the aisle yet. Meaning he didn't officially sign a contract. So you know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, bro. We engaged, but we can still call this off. And that's exactly what happened. They said, oh no, yeah, we got our problems, but you're gonna be airing it out on social media every time we have a problem? Nah, bro, this ain't gonna work. Thank you, but no thank you. Here's your ring back. That's on Ed. That's on Ed Reed. That's his fault. Now I know you obviously have a different opinion.
Yeah. I'm absolutely for airing people out when you've had that conversation and they still haven't done their part, right? Their portion. This is with questions. So for me, I'm okay with him coming out and putting, because that might be the only reason that it moved at all is because he came out. One of the other things that he says, it's not only the football team. You know what I mean? It's also the kids who are there. It's also the kids who are there. But you know, I want to even talk about. He said the girls' track team. They have homeless people who come onto the track and are able to get into the school. This is a safety issue now. You know what I mean? Now we're talking about safety issues and coming to the kids and asking for money. Now, there's not necessarily something wrong with that, you know what I mean? But they shouldn't be on the campus. You know what I mean? So that's my biggest thing is if something isn't going to do, you've had a conversation, I'm okay with outing them on social media. If it means talking about lives, we're not talking about a disagreement. You know, that's the big thing for me.
I agree. All right, so listen, let's jump into some music. When we come back, we're going to jump into our interview with the big homie Ruslan, who'll be entering the building, man. Make sure that y'all go tell a friend to tell another friend to tune in, because this is going to be big, all right? Listen, y'all know what it is. Stay tuned and stay blessed. Rise up worldwide.
I got the juice. 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 Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want the man. Let me take a moment and introduce you to someone that better run like never still next. Never see me off air, because you know my best days ever had to be the everything the better creation all in one. Every single head off, but it's all in fun. Competition don't exist, they don't follow them. We follow us, I'm gonna get it. They wanna see it, they come and they wanna be in the cover, and it's a free and I'm smart, the way you want me in the terrible shit. Running the whole show, and expecting you repeat it. This is the way I did it, this is the way I loved it. Moved how we moved today with no grudges, no we don't fit. Name was small touches, we started our own and did it with no budget. I just gotta go off on it, I just know I put the sauce on it. I just gotta get lost on it, I don't care about the sauce on it. I just gotta break loose, I'm a brother like a shoe. I just need me a what? I'm a pour me into the pot. I got the juice. 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 I'm still in a dream. Is this really a thing? I got no place to be. I'm in NYC and it's also free, man. Roll out, been blessed. Should have been different. It could have been. I could have had weekends off the deep end, cause I ain't want to man up for the decent. I could have been hustling on the street corner. I could be living on the street. I could be living in a place where I never had a chance to ever get up on my feet. Could have been lost my mind, gone insane. I said that rush through your veins. My God, He created me to be the change. No hype, this is truly. My life's like a movie. Truth is you never knew me. Well, I was no type of Boosies, or Becky's, or Susie's. Look, I'm the new on a two-piece. See, there's no place county's too high. Yeah, I'm chilling at my new spot. Yeah, they wishing they were too far. Look, I'm wishing that I knew how. Look, I'm wishing I could time travel. Like, what if I could do I'm an actress in heaven now. With my brother, I've never had back. Working told me really not enough. I'm feeling like God is my catapult. Here's the new beginnings. Here's the new beginnings. You say, come on. Here's the new beginning. See, they say we too down for the victory. Way too down for the victory. I told them the past is the history. We can essentially move as we letting it go. Here's the new beginnings. Here's the new beginnings. You say, come on. I told him the past is the history, we can essentially. This is what we gonna do right now. We gonna do a real simple two-step, all right? Everybody, we gonna go this way first, all right? Y'all know how to two-step, right? Downtown it's like fashion week. They asking what my fashion be. I told them I'm on a new limit, like a church-going version of Master P. I'm like, get higher. I'm cool with the size, folks. You don't ask me like nice and so. When I started, I was all nice and low. I ain't saying I'm getting paid yet, but it's better to move out of home. I ain't saying I'm on my feelings yet. I'm learning better how to go. Here's the new beginnings. Here's the new beginnings. You say it, come on. They say we too down for the victory. Way too down for the victory. I told them the past is the history. We can essentially move as we let it go. Here's the new beginnings. Here's the new beginnings. You say, come on. Here's the new beginnings. They say we too down for the victory. Way too down for the victory. I told them the past is the history. We can essentially.
All right, man. We back.
You are such a podcaster.
We back.
Like you jump right back worldwide. Into it.
I got my man Joe Boss. I got my man LostNFound. I'm taking over the show now. That's how we roll. No, I'm just joking, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. That was so nostalgic, man. That music was very therapeutic to make when I made it, and it was cool that you guys played that because that was from our show 2019 in New York City.
Yeah,
in the Bronx actually, and so that was kind of a trip to watch that back.
Man, that was a good time too, man. You absolutely killed that show.
Thank you, man. Yeah, shout out to that band, Gary Coach, and oh shoot, I'm forgetting the other brother's name. But they were amazing.
Yeah, Chuck, the drummer.
Drummer, yes.
Chuck, that's right, Chuck. Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, that was epic. That was absolutely epic just to be able to do that. And thank you, LNF. Appreciate you bringing the throwback on here, man.
Deep cuts. You got the deep cut.
I had to bring something that was it's unseen footage from Rise Up. You know what I mean? Footage.
Right. So listen, man. Ruslan, thank you so much for taking the time out to rock with us, man. We really appreciate it, man. So let's just jump right into it, man. Here's a question that I wanted to personally ask you, right? Because you have a long history already as an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a label owner.
Mm-hmm.
What was the decision to get into the reactor space as a podcaster and YouTuber?
Well, it wasn't a super thoughtful decision. Everything had shut down with the pandemic. There was no shows,
right?
There's nothing happening. We didn't know how long this was going to go on for. And I thought, well, I was already dabbling with YouTube, doing interviews, just kind of in the green rooms, having a little setup, you know? And so I thought, well, I can't interview anyone. I can't travel to do any shows. At that point, I was just interviewing people I found interesting, you know? And so I said, well, let me try just giving my thoughts on things, and whatever's trending, you know, do that, and then do some do some virtual interviews. And I just kind of started. I had the idea in mind for a while of like reacting to stuff while live on YouTube, and it just kind of like randomly popped off, like way bigger than any of the music stuff had popped off fairly fast. Like the process of like locking in to when I was like, whoa, like this replaced my music income was not very long. I'm talking maybe 6 months, maybe.
Wow.
You know, yeah. And so I was like, okay, there's something here. And then I just kept looking at that AdSense, and then it just kept growing and kept bubbling. And I thought, why not? You know, this is fun. And the goal, we'll see how this works, but the goal is to bring the new audience back to the music, you know, and now I'm releasing some new stuff. Like I just dropped a single called Too Soon. We got a couple more in the can that are done, mastered artwork. We just got to hit upload on DistroKid. That'll be coming out in the coming, I'd say probably the next 3-4 weeks. We'll have another song out. And so, yeah, man, it wasn't like, it wasn't super thoughtful. I mean, in terms of the label thing, I'll be honest with you guys. I think the label thing is I think that's just dead. Like, I think that whole business model is dying or dead.
Wow.
Unless you're talking really big money, it just doesn't make sense for me to recommend anybody to go sign to any label right now. I just think it's a bad model. From the recouping to the way the business relationship is set up, you know, where artists initially need the help of the label, and then as an artist gets popping, the label becomes less relevant and necessary. It's just not a good arrangement I would recommend anybody to be in. I think now is the era of independence, the era of direct to consumer. So the business model for the label was just kind of like, man, I'm kind of just over this. I mean, I still have great relationships with everybody, and we'll still collaborate. You know, John Keith will probably be kind of like a God willing, like a regular on the Blessed God Studios channel. But yeah, man, that's all right. I just gave you a super duper long answer for a very clear question.
That's all right, because you gave me three follow-up questions, so it's fine. The first I was going to ask you, I think you kind of answered it, was would you say that podcasting is your most successful venture now? But I think
you know, I don't even know if I would call it podcasting. I think I'm actually in transition from like live stream reaction to podcasting. I think people probably most know me for like Christian commentary or like commentary from a Christian perspective on culture. And I'm in real time pivoting over to like more long form conversational stuff. And I'm hoping that kind of becomes the bread and butter and get people over to like a subscription Patreon model. And then, you know, the music is still super fun to make, and I feel like there's like a blueprint now that I've watched Nick D blow up, and I'm friendly with him, and I watched all these other guys blow up. I feel like there's like a blueprint here with the music.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. So when you said that you wouldn't recommend the artist go to a label, and my first thought is, if I'm an independent artist, I don't have, you know, a train of things behind me. Wouldn't it be to my advantage to go to a label who may already have social media, graphic designers, and a lot of things that I may need to help me get off the ground, right? Don't you think that would make more sense to go to a label?
It would depend. It would depend on where you are in your career, how teachable are you, how bad do you want it? And so you could, but I feel like then how competent are those people at those labels? How competent are they at building something? Have they ever built their own social media? They trying to tell you how to run your social media. Have they actually ever been practitioners? Right? And so those are all like real questions. And so it's like, I don't know if I want a bunch of marketing people telling me how to market, and they ain't ever marketed anything and have to sell anything in real life. What are we doing? You know? So I would say it would depend, and there's no such thing as a bad deal. There's just bad terms. You know, if Reach Records gave me $1 billion tomorrow and wanted to own all my masters and all my publishing forever, that would be a great deal. I'll take that in a heartbeat, right? But we know that that's not the type of terms we're talking about, right? Justin Bieber just sold his entire back catalog for $200 million.
Right.
That's a great deal.
We were just talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's all in the terms of an arrangement. But like nowadays, a label is not even going to talk to you unless you're already popping on social. So then what do you need a label for to get popping on social if they're waiting for you to get popping on social? You got to first get popping. And then when you get popping, what's the point of a label? Is it because you want to be a Post Malone, Taylor Swift? Well, sure. If you want to be a Post Malone, Taylor Swift, you probably should figure out a way to get into that major label machine. But even still, on that regard, you want to go and build your own infrastructure initially and then slowly cross over, and then you can kind of write your own check. So I think, in my opinion, I think labels are dead. Now, that doesn't mean that teams aren't dead. You still need teams. You still need somebody to hold the camera. You still need somebody to help you make the music. You still need somebody to mix the music. You still need, unless you're really like an all-in-one shop, but you still need somebody. But I mean, you look right now, and you look at someone like that comes from the space, but he's not a Christian hip hop artist. I would never want to put him on. But you look at like Foggy Raw, and I've been around him very close up since 2015, 2016. Foggy is him and one person, and you're talking about hundreds of thousands of followers in the last 6 months, hundreds of thousands of streams, TikTok, like booming. It's just him and one person, doing real damage out here, him and his wife and one person. So, I just go, what for? If you need the money, I guess, but even still, like, how much money do you really need? Like, if we're talking 7 figures, yeah, sure, take the bag, but you already got to be booming to get 7 figures. And then the 7 figures question goes, well, do you want that 7 figures across the next 18 months, or do you need the 7 figures right now? Then that's what we're playing with. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, if you can get booming, that's the way to do it. Get popping. Sky's the limit. So, but no, like to sign with like an independent label for like a couple $1,000s in a 50-50 split, or a licensing deal, or a distribution deal, like it just doesn't make sense right now.
So let me follow up with the Justin Bieber question, and the ownership, right? Why would that make sense for him in short term, and in the long term? You've got sync placements, you've got radio, you've got all these different avenues to make the money on the ownership side. If he owns, let's just say, a large portion of his masters, why would that make sense? When I'm thinking 200 mil is great, but over the life of his career, I believe he can make that. He was already grossing, I think 50 to 70 per year. So that's 5 years from now, he's passing that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point. Well, 50 to 60 mil, that's not just off of his music publishing and his royalties, right? So I would venture off to say that he probably doesn't own his masters. That would be my first guess. He probably maybe owns some of them, or owns a percentage, or gets royalties from them, but I don't think he owns them. I think Universal probably still owns them. And then I would say he also doesn't own all of his publishing, because Pooh Bear is writing a lot of those songs with him or for him. So we're not even talking about 100% of his publishing and 100% of his masters, just the parts he wrote and created. He's giving that up for $200 million. Why? Because $200 million right now can go way longer if he has the right investments, if he has the right business management team. I mean, you could park 100 million of that, and if you're just getting 5% back, 10% back a year, that's 10 million a year passive. So I think it would probably, my guess would be, it would probably be a move like that. I think Future just did the same thing, where he sold his catalog for a huge amount. Yeah, because usually if you're trying to get into venture capital, if you just got a good business account, if you're trying to buy up a bunch of real estate, you're trying to go buy up a bunch of apartments, you know what I mean? You go buy a 1,000-unit apartment building for $20 million in Florida. You buy another one in California, and you buy 6-7 apartment buildings. I mean, that's that. Now you're talking real passive income. And I don't even know how they would structure that. I'm just saying, like, a lot of times that money the residuals of just passively investing that money can go way further than waiting for it to trickle in over the next 25 years, or the next 20 years. He probably want that money now because he's thinking, I could flip. I got business partners. I got good investors. I got people around me. I mean, shoot, the market is down right now. If you just put it in a mutual fund, if you just put 100 million in a mutual fund, the market is going to bounce up in the next 6 to 12 months after the recession we get through the recession. So that's why I think that's what I would think. And I got friends that, like, they're not going to do 200 million, but they'd sell all their stuff for 10. You know, give me my 10 and I'll figure out what to do with this 10. I could keep making, because remember, this is just his past catalog. That's not his future stuff. He can keep making music. And I bet you now he probably does own his masters. So that's just his past catalog for 200 million. Like, I think that's a great situation. Yes, you're right in that, you know, he could pass that on to his kids. He could pass that on to his grandkids. Yeah. That's fair too. But when you're like, yo, I think this could be his play to try to become a billionaire. Like you take 200 million, you spend 100 million and buy something, and then you wait, and then in 5 years you sell that for $1 billion, right? You buy a business for 100 million, you sell it for $1 billion. That's how you become a billionaire, right? You buy something at X amount, you flip it, you know. I think that I'm guessing that's his play, in my opinion. But I'm totally speculating. I have no idea.
Right.
Yo, what's funny is everything you just said is exactly what I spoke about in the segment that I invest in yourself. It was literally everything you just said, because I said the same thing. It was like, yo, if he's smart, he's taking this 200 million and he's probably investing in either real estate, because with that type of money you could do something with a Grant Cardone or someone in that space and really flip it. Or let's say he invests in something in technology, right? Tech can flip 100 times over.
Yep.
Crazy in a quick space if you find something that really pops off.
Yeah,
So
like
that
say he finds the
200
next chat GPT, you know, and he puts 20 million in the next chat GPT or in chat GPT. Who knows where they are in their fundraising thing, and they're trying to figure out infrastructure. And then they turn around and sell chat GPT to Google in a year for 5 billion or $1 trillion. Like who knows? We don't even know what chat GPT is. But yeah, you're totally right. The tech side, I mean, that's 100%. That's where the money's at, you know?
Right, because that's with 200 million, there's a lot of things you can invest in and flip that money around. Right. Whereas he's 28 right now, he has time. And like you said, he could easily come back and produce 12 more albums. You know, it's not like he's finished with music. He's just doing something else.
Yep.
So that was my take on it as well. So I'm glad you got reiterated, and you didn't even know that we spoke about it. So that I thought that was really great.
There we go.
Now back to the label thing. You don't recommend labels. Was that part of your transition from King's Dream to Bless God?
Yeah, well, King's Dream is still the name of my LLC. Bless God is just what we're calling a podcast in a new studio. And I just think it just looks flyer than King's Dream. It kind of means the same thing. But yeah, like this is the situation we're running a label with. What I don't think people really understand is initially, if you're smart and you have some resources, I didn't have a lot of resources, but I had some resources. I had relationships, I had vendors, I had a little bit of money. When you sign an artist, initially the artist benefits more than the label, because it's going to take a little bit of money, a little bit of capital to get that artist popping. The initial is an upside for the label, taking an artist from no followers to 10,000 followers on Instagram, right? Which is what we did with like Paul Russell, what we did with John Keith, right? 0 followers to 10,000. I think John Keith was at like 2,000, you know, and by the time we were on like our third album, he's at like 15, 20,000. That's a lot of upside for the artist. And then you putting them into your systems, you getting them to do shows with you, you getting them to connect, go in the studio, meet other artists, yada, yada, yada. That's an upside for the artist. But what happens is, and we were just doing everything 50-50. What happens is then the scales tip, and then the label isn't as useful to the artist because the artist is already booming. Like you set the artist in motion, as you should. And as a good leader, because there's a difference between being a boss and being a leader. Like being a leader, I'm trying to work myself out of a job. Being a boss, I want to have some weird like control and dominion over something, right? And I don't want to be people's boss. I want to be a leader that puts people on, and then they're moving and booming on their own. And that's what every artist that I've worked with, that's kind of what happened. Like I helped them get started. I'm very resourceful initially. Then it's like a weird like, well, now they feel like they owe me, but I'm not really doing anything. Like what? I didn't really do anything for those last 2 John Keith albums that we did, you know? Like it was like, I mean, here's some money to go get the album mixed. Like here's some, right? And so it's like, that's not fair to him at that point. And so yeah, so I just was in a spot where like, man, I just appreciate you guys as homies. I don't want there to be anything weird. Just go ahead. You know what I mean? It's all good. And
you had a masterpiece situation.
Yeah, I don't quite track the parallel, but did he lead a bunch of people out of their contracts?
No, what I'm saying is that that you flip that to another direction. What I meant was you basically you brought people in, you helped them get to a certain level, and you didn't hold anything back.
Yeah.
You basically showed them the game. Like, this is how it's played. This is how you grow. This is how you make money.
Right.
Once they got to a certain level, you was like, all right, do you?
Right.
I'm not holding you back like a lot of labels would do.
Yes.
And that's what one of the things about Master P that a lot of people say, particularly Snoop Dogg would say, give him all types of praise and say, listen, Master P did this, and this. He showed me how to grow and how to make money. They didn't do that for me anywhere else. And it seems like that's what you're doing for your artists, particularly John Keith.
Yeah. I think that's a fair parallel. I think I rather do my best to retain the friendships. And sometimes in order to maintain the friendships, you got to get out of the business relationship, you know? And so it's just kind of cleaner that way. And I don't want anybody feeling like there's obligations. And so, yeah, man. I could be in somebody's corner in a different way than having to monetize off of them. You know what I mean? Because that's like, I could just monetize myself. I could monetize my own brand. I don't need to monetize somebody else to eat. And, yeah. So, that wasn't the plan, to be honest with you. Like, the plan was like, do music, and then I just kept having amazing people around me that were super talented, and they kept needing help, and I kept stopping my own stuff to help other people, stop my own stuff to help other people, stop. And then, like, again, when the pandemic started, it's just like I there's nothing to stop. There's no more. I could just focus on me. And when I did that, you guys saw, like, once I locked in and just focused on my own stuff, then the YouTube blossomed. You know what I'm saying? And my Instagram's blossoming, and all these other things are booming. And so I think I probably did some of the labels, the collectives, the groups, probably out of a place of just creative codependency, not feeling adequate as an artist, and not wanting, because making music is lonely, man. Like, unless you're already kind of popping, like, it's hard to find engineers that care and producers that really care, and it's a lonely path. And so I probably just was like, I want to be lonely, and two, I've had some weird degree of creative codependency where I didn't feel adequate as an artist, you know, to just do it on my own and figure it out on my own.
Wow. Those are great points. Listen, I want to break it up a little bit. LNF, please jump into another video for us. When we come back, we're going to continue this interview with Ruslan. He's dropping some powerful gems. I hope you guys are really listening to what he's saying and hear his heart, because as he said, what you don't hear often is that it was more important to him to keep the relationships that he's built with the artists he's worked with, as opposed to try to monetize them. And that is the heart of a true man of God. All right, LNF, let's do it. Take us away.
Reporting to you live from New York City, from the borough, Brooklyn, all the way to the shores of the West Coast. If it ain't King's dream, it ain't no dream.
Hey yo,
God always.
We in the city, New York City, ain't no telling what you might see. Bronx up to Queens, Manhattan, rockin' with me. Moving through the borough, king, dreaming with my brethren. I might buy a Yankee fitted cap, and I don't watch baseball. Living like I'm crazy. If the mission didn't pertain me, I'd be trying to chase the bag. Get a Billy like I'm Jay-Z. But I'm here because he saved me. Since that day he spoke the flame, and he gave me something to say. And homie, the rest is crazy. This here is a cage full of gorillas. Couldn't even flip it if your last name was Flipper. You the type they get a deal, get poppin' and then switch up. I'm the type they couldn't fade if they played for the Clippers. Type that can engage every day with the sinners. Holy praise for my saint, cause every day I'm a sinner. Life is a maze, I'm just searching for my talents. Tip the scales of my life when I was just looking for a balance. Yeah. I've been back in my bag lately, ripping it like I've been Kobe. The mama mentality, look at the versatility. My mama, she proud of me. City, they counting me crazy. They thinking no more people doubting me. Look at the fans, they get everything out of me. Hurt, pain, shine, gain, yeah. IVAV, light a flame, yeah. We that new game, project coming soon, ayy, yeah. That's game. Underdogs and them dream junkies, yeah. And I'm dripped up in that legendary drip. We in the city, New York.
Oh, that's how we doing it now?
New York City.
Gonna do that?
We in the city, New York, New York City.
It's a king's dream with 4 against 5.
Yeah.
And I don't really know who else is gonna survive. Let's go ball for ball. Kid, I ain't that sort of guy. You're looking for fruit, I'm searching for an orchard to buy. Needing a piece of land is probably just my orphan inside. Happy the Lord spared me, I noticed I'm a fortunate guy. This fortune of mine is actually inside of my mind. So ill it manifested and convalescence arrived. Wait. I told Steven I don't believe them, give me a reason to keep on cheesing. Flow is like butter, plus it's my season to ease into my new mantle as I dismantle the ample attitudes until find time to flip a sample into a beat or two. Vehicles for my future get pulled into my presence cause of gratitude. We on that, you see me pull up in Tesla, but that ain't never been the message. They can question the method, they can question whatever they want. Look, I don't wanna rap fast, get too abstract, but I'm supposed to, I'ma get laughed at. They gon' say Steven killed me with the backpack raps and the knapsack back. And the last track that we ever do will be this one. You don't wanna see that, you don't wanna rehatch me killing a beat. I don't wanna relapse, I don't wanna evac, the whole room should see that murder. Like me fat with my shirt off, I seen and I heard of a couple of rappers scary and nervous, stuck in inertia. I wish that I could say I had some sympathy. I don't, that's what separates civilians from infantry.
New York City.
And we are back. Rise Up Worldwide is in the building. Make sure y'all follow us at Rise Up Worldwide everywhere. You can follow us individually at DJ LostNFound or at Joe Bosch Radio. Y'all know how we do. And of course, I know y'all know how to follow Ruslan because that boy everywhere. His marketing is official. So let's jump right back into it. When we were talking about you as a person, you said earlier in this interview that the YouTubing and reacting replaced your music income very quickly.
Mhm.
What do you think was the key factor to you growing so rapidly?
That's a great question. I think there is something to connecting disciplines across levels of expertise that you already have or may not even know that you have. And so if you look at my YouTube, what my YouTube is really a culmination of something that we had did in our life group for decades. We'd have a small men's group, you know, and it would evolve. I'd be at a different church and then we pop into a different church and then, you know, and so I kind of end up leading or co-leading a lot of these groups. And what would happen was we would come in from the week and kind of just shoot the breeze about what was happening at the time with current events, with the Iraq war, with this situation, with that situation. And we would segue those conversations into the scriptures. So it's like stuff that people already cared about, that was already happening in the news and the media, or stuff that was happening in their personal life. Somebody might have had a really rough time. They come in, yo, I got a crazy week, blah, blah, blah. And we would take things that were relevant to that community and we would segue that into scripture. And if you pay attention to what I do on YouTube, it's the exact same thing. All I'm doing is what I was doing in my small group men's Bible study for 20 years. Talk about stuff that people care about, segue right back to scripture. I didn't know that I had actually been doing that arguably longer than I've been making music, you know, like making music at a professional level, right? Because with music, it kind of ebbs and flows, right? Like you make an album and then you don't really work on music for a couple months and you start dabbling again and then you have an album. This is like an every year cycle. But if I'm showing up to Bible study every Monday for a decade, consistently every Monday, 7 o'clock, this is what we do, that just the sheer hours of like having conversations and talking, I think I probably racked up more hours there. And I just was probably better at it, more natural at it, you know? And yeah, I think that's kind of how it clicked, man, is I was good at something I didn't know I was good at that happened to be a need in the market. It was a void in the market of, hey, Christians trying to figure out how to talk about what's happening in culture and how these things relate to them.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, man. So how was the transition jumping out of the pond of CHH into like the ocean of Christian YouTube?
Oh, it was great. It was great It was great because it's like you're in a space that's a pond, and so when you're in a space that's a pond, you don't always have room to grow because there's the other big fish sometimes aren't comfortable with you, or there's just not enough breathing room, right? And so when you're then transitioning into a bigger space, you have room to explore, and it's just very, very big and more opportunities, and there's no rules and there's no expectations, and yeah, it was great, man. I love it, man. And I think I'm hoping that me doing this and God willing coming back and blowing up the music even bigger than it ever was, I'm hoping it kind of, because I'm not one of them guys that like I leave Christian hip hop and write a goodbye letter to Christian hip hop. Like I'm not that guy. Like I'm not leaving. I'm like, I'm here. I still have Christian rappers on my podcast. I'm still trying to platform other Christian rappers. So like, God willing, this music pops off the way I think it will. Then maybe I become the blueprint of what is possible. Not necessarily having to do podcasts. So I think there's a lot of guys that could do podcasting, do really good. Like I had Paris Cariz on, and I was like, yo, like you need to have a podcast. Like you're good at this. Like you're good at conversation. But not even podcasts. Like it could be TikTok, it could be YouTube, it could be something, it could be vlogging, it could be whatever platform people shine on. I think the era that we're in now is you got to be a content creator first. And if you're not a content creator, I think you're already dead in the water. Like it's already a wrap for you. And I think it's very clear that that's the space that we're. I mean, unless like Kendrick Lamar is your big uncle, shout out Baby King. Like unless it's straight nepotism, but you're not gonna get on just being an artist in this era, and guys that even trick you into thinking that are content creators. Like Montel Fish has people thinking that he's this like savant artist, but he's a content creator. That dude was a YouTuber. He was the Christian YouTuber moment, and then he pivoted to TikTok, and he knows content, but he makes it look like it's art. And I would argue that content is art. Like grabbing attention is art,
Now, I wanted to ask you, as you said, you jumped into that ocean of Christian YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And great. And like you said, it opened up a world of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle the backlash? Especially when you do like when you're doing videos where you criticize leaders, such as like Mike Todd or Pastor Jamal Bryant, or anyone,
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Christian hip hop audience is so scathing and like so mean already, or was mean. I don't know how it is now, But I mean, you got to remember, like, we were the non-theological rappers as the breaks in a sea of all theological stuff, 12 years ago. So we was already okay with like people looking at us crazy and, negative comments or whatever. So that was light, and then as the Dream Junkies, we was really trying to get out of the Christian space. We just didn't know how to articulate that. Like we wanted to do what Toby is doing now. We wanted to do what Nick D is doing now. We didn't have the capacity or the blueprint or anyone that really had done it to show us how to do that. And so like we were getting a ton of negative feedback as the Dream Junkies, right? Because people just didn't get it. And the truth is, it wasn't for the church. That music was not made for the church, And it was weird because we were in Christian hip hop but not making music for the church. So I've been used to it. In terms of like calling out leaders or whatever, I do my best to reach out to people. And I've reached out to Mike Todd quite a few times and try to tap in. And man, like, because I think everybody should own their own narrative. Like, I think Mike Todd, when he catches backlash, should have his own podcast where he could sit down for 2 hours with Tim Ross or whoever and unpack what the backlash is and where he's at fault and where he's not at fault and where there's a misunderstanding. I think every public figure would benefit greatly from that. And I don't mind being a conduit for those kinds of conversations because I don't see Mike Todd as all bad or all good. I think he's learning in real time, and I've made mistakes before and all that kind of stuff. And then there's obvious stuff that I think is questionable from a teaching standpoint. So I do my best to like reach out to people and give them an opportunity to tap in, unless someone's like way far gone, like Jamal Bryant. I didn't reach out to Jamal. I'm like, yo, this dude is nuts. Like this is way outside of the lines of anything we would consider orthodox Christianity in terms of like the doctrine. Like the dude is, pro fornication, pro abortion. Like you're way outside the parameters of anything we would call reasonable. He's talking about selling weed, growing weed on church property. So, you know what I mean? And he like, he's so outside. So yeah, like that's someone I'm like, okay, like this is just foolishness, you know? But generally speaking, Furtick, Mike Todd, who else?
Joel Osteen.
Furtick, Mike Todd, Osteen. I've never reached out to Osteen just because I don't think he'd ever see it. But Mike Todd and Furtick, I've definitely reached out to multiple times, you know?
Okay. Now I remember in listening to your show, one of the things you took a stance on is that you don't call any of these guys like a wolf in sheep's clothing or false prophets, right? Which I applaud you for that, because those are heavy titles to get to try to, you know, brand somebody as. But what do you think caused you to take that stance and not say, you know, these are false prophets or these are wolf, and just say, you know what, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt to say maybe they're just in error?
Yeah. Because I think when I read those passages and I see Jesus talking about false prophets and wolves and all these different things, I go, there's like actual false teachers out here, right? There's actual false prophets. So I don't know if Jesus was talking about like Kenneth Copeland, who's in his 80s, who's senile. Clearly, he is checked out. Like that dude he's barely there, right? I don't think that's who necessarily. I don't know, but I think he was talking about actual false prophets, like people of other religions, people of false religions, people who are like have a completely different take on the very basics of the resurrection, the virgin birth, right? Like those close-handed essentials we would talk about that we could glean from 1 Corinthians 15 or the Nicene Creed. So I go, okay, well, we know there are actual false prophets and actual false teachers. Is it possible that he was definitely talking about those people? And then within the confines of Christianity, I think there's a lot of guys that have changed their mind on stuff. And like, you know, Benny Hinn is one of those guys that's like kind of changed his mind, but not, but did, but not, you know, and it's like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. And so I think the dangerous part is if we believe that salvation is by grace through faith alone, which is one of the 5 solas, then I don't see theology or proper theology as a prerequisite for anybody to be saved. And when you call somebody a wolf in sheep's clothing, you're basically saying they're an agent of Satan and they're not saved. And I feel conflicted proclaiming anyone who affirms the bodily resurrection of Jesus as the propitiation for their sins. I struggle with like declaring people as not saved and like Satan's of agent, you know, agents of Satan. I don't know. And I definitely get flack for that because I think guys just be off. Like guys get isolated and just be off. And I've been that guy, you know, It's like, you just off, you know, you just in your own echo chamber and you start thinking some weirdo things. And then you like come back to scripture and be like, oh yeah, I was really wrong about some of this stuff. You know, it's like, I've been there and I was still saved. Like I still love Jesus. Now, how does it work when there's millions, hundreds of millions of dollars involved and, you know, celebrity pastors and private jets? I don't know how any of that stuff works, you know, but yeah, so I just tend to be weary of like, no, being the arbiter of like who isn't saved, because I think that's what that label of heretic or that label of wolf or that label of, you know, agent of Satan, you're talking about some really serious accusations.
That's interesting. And you've asked my mind. I know I'm very heavy-handed on these type of videos, right? Most of your content isn't that, but when you do type of videos, I've been very heavy-handed. Even like a Marcus Rogers, right? So, and for me, one of my thinking is, I think you're right as far as talking about people's salvation. That's not my place. But it's also really important for us to warn the sheep. You know what I mean, I know that I've been out there I was out there for years thinking because I didn't speak in tongues that I wasn't saved and wrestling with my salvation for like 4 years. You know, because of that is the type of thing that was being taught. So in my mind, it's really important to guard the sheep, you know, to guard the flock and to warn people. So looking at, you know, even like with you and Alan Parr, now you guys kind of have these people that you say, I'm in this person, like, out for my babies don't understand theology was important, right? And I'm not saying that you're not saying that, but people be looking for who are Jews and in that ocean looking for truth.
Yeah, I think I caught your question. You cut out for a little bit, LostNFound, but I think I got your question. So this kind of go and people may not like this parallel, but this kind of goes back to like the illustration of the bank teller with the counterfeit money, right? So like when somebody is learning to be a bank teller, how they are taught to spot counterfeits in terms of dealing with money is not by keeping track of every new fake counterfeit dollar bill. It's by knowing what it's like to handle real money and the authentic thing, right? And so because if you handle enough real money, then you'll feel the difference of a counterfeit. You'll have the sensory to know, okay, this is a counterfeit dollar bill. And instead of, let me track down every single counterfeit bill and figure out what the ink is and what the paper is and how they make, like, so they teach bank tellers by studying what the real is. So I think the best thing people could do is equip themselves on being firm on what is the actual gospel. How are you actually saved? What is the essentials of the faith? And I feel like if you know what the gospel is, if you know that you're saved by grace through faith, and that is what calls you saved, well then you should. The automatic thought is, oh no, I'm saved. If somebody tries to tell you you don't speak in tongues, therefore you're not saved, you could just instantly rebuke that and go, no. Maybe God hasn't given me that gift. Maybe he will never give me that gift. But I know I'm saved because you know what the real thing is. And so I think that is helpful. Now, I do think there's a time and a place to correct teaching, false teaching. I have no problem with correcting false teaching, whether it's Mike Todd or Marcus Rogers or whoever. And I think there's a lot of false teaching out there that I'll correct. And I think we could do that in a way where it's not accusatory and attacking somebody personally. But even that could be difficult. You know what I mean? Even that could be difficult. And so I think I do my best to communicate what is the truth as clearly as I can. And then how does that practically play out? And then when something comes up and there's another thing of like, if you don't speak in tongues, you're not saved. We've done that video. I've done that video, I don't know, a dozen times. We could address that false teaching head on, and then I could bring on smarter people than me that know the original language, that know how it all works in terms of the Hebrew and the Greek, and then let them tell you and drive home the point where it's more of a credible authority source. And then if you still reject it, well, then you already have pre-made your presupposition that this has to be true, and you're looking at it through your little denominational slant and not through what the scriptures honestly teach.
Got it. Okay. Listen, let's break it up a little bit. I want to jump into another music video. When we come back, we'll continue on with Ruslan because this conversation is getting heavy. I'm telling you, I hope y'all are enjoying it. I hope y'all are really listening to the authenticity of what he's saying and hearing the heart of what he's saying as well. It boils down to a matter of intent. And I think that's what separates someone who's a false prophet versus someone who's in error. On that note, let's jump into the music.
Time travel for the future. For the future.
Papa's an immigrant, mama's a superhero. They both grew up tumultuous as kids. Needless to say, they committed to making sure that he grows up much more stable than they did. So, at this age, he's carefree, showing his ninja moves to anyone who cares to see. See? He sees his papa's skin, he likes to call it bright. From his eyes, he thinks him and his dad are more alike. Mama's a shade of bronze, they say that Jesus was. He's only 3 and he believes he came down from above. The other day, he overheard them talking about the news. Another black boy was killed and now the people loot. That left him so confused, cause it wasn't clear who was at fault. He shouldn't have to grow up and choose over his race, and if it matters in a system that we built a space for everybody, but some are missing that. We see the same headlines and we envision that change has to come. But what if the change is in fact starts with us? Having conversations with people that don't look like us to build trust. I know it should just all fall in line for the humankind. Why do we have to work so hard to unify? What's the alternative? It's not about being a liberal or conservative, cause he won't get to check out. I don't want him to grow up in a world where he feels left out. I don't want us to keep acting like we ain't got a mess now. Tell me after you have to talk about how he gotta be extra careful when pulled over, you don't feel stressed out. Thankful at this age that he's carefree. Should we be? Should we be? Thankful at this age that he's carefree. Should we be? Should we be? Thankful at this age that he's carefree. Should we be? Or should we be the first to have the hard talks? Not just for our benefits. There's little ones coming after us, and right now they innocent. They ain't been contaminated with the hate and ignorance. They can't understand the racial constructs that limit us. So we should be the most loving and empathetic people that the world has ever seen. And we ain't gotta be so binary about every single opinion, because the truth is probably in between. I don't know, I'ma go on a legend, say maybe cause I'm a soul, you a soul, we can be associated so we grow. I wanna seek to understand before being understood, cause Jesus is the rock I stood on when there was nothing good. Choose to understand before being understood. Jesus was still my rock when I was nothing good. Thankful at this age that he's carefree. Should we be? Should we be? Thankful at this age that he's carefree. But we can't be. No, we can't be. Third option.
Wow, that was. I wasn't ready for that one, LNF. I was not ready for that song. I'm telling you, that song hit me just now real hard because that's my first time hearing that particular record. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I can't skip over this because Ruslan, that song right there, like in your relationship, right? Obviously, you are. I remember you told me where your family was from, and I can't remember exactly, right? But you are white, and your wife is black, and obviously your son is interracial, right? Do you feel that sometimes it may be difficult managing that relationship? Because let's be honest, it's not like America is completely, for interracial relationships anymore. Obviously it's better than what it has been, but there's still in, post-Trump era, where people who are racially divided have been feeling empowered to oppress people in interracial relationships and just people who are minorities in general. How do you address that?
Well, I think it's interesting for me because I'm originally from a country called Azerbaijan, Baku. So I'm ethnically Armenian, and people, if you ever look up like Armenian, just look up anything Armenian. And I'm not talking about Calvinism Armenian. I'm talking about Armenian. We come from a lot of genocide, a lot of generational trauma. The Armenian genocide of 1915 is what inspired Hitler to do his genocide, because his logic was like, who remembers the Armenians, and so millions of lives lost. And so I understand the reality of how dark the world really is. I am a refugee in a land that I was not born here. I was born thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. So I've always understood like how dark the world is and how wild thing is. I think here in America, we got this experiment of like trying to figure it out. Like we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's still far from perfect.
Right.
But let me tell you something. It's there's some other places in the world that are much darker than here. There's some other places in the world where, what's happening in Iran right now with the women wearing hijabs and not being allowed to take them off, and little girls getting killed. Like there's some real darkness out there. You talk about the Quaker Muslims in China. and them basically being in concentration camps. Like there's some really, 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 really dark stuff happening worldwide. And so I think my perspective, like pulling back, is like, man, the world is a dark place, bro. You know? And so like, I think this American experiment, I think we're trying our best. But in any experiment, it's definitely not perfect, far from perfect. And
Trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error, man. And I think my son has he has his father in his life, which is already a massive advantage because I didn't grow up with my father as hands-on as I am. 2, it's a very curated environment where he's optimally rewarded for doing hard things like learning new skills, hard things like playing sports, hard things like doing push-ups, like he's rewarded and stimulated for doing hard things. And so it's a curated environment where there's opportunity for him to learn, to be around different people. But my wife homeschools. And so it's like that tension of like how much sheltering versus exposing him to the world in a way where he can understand how dark the world is, you know, in tidbits. And I think what we're seeing here now, unfortunately, is I think people got tired of racism, and now it's evolving into this like ideological war, you know, that like depending on which side of the aisle you are, depending on what your views are here, we're entering like a whole nother climate. It's even hard to articulate it because then there's weird overlaps. There's fringe white liberals who are more woke than black folks, and they want to tell black folks what they should be mad about. And then there's black conservatives or just black people from the hood that is like, yo, defund the police, that's an L. Like we don't like they did a survey. Sho Baraka wrote in his book. I don't know if y'all read Sho's book. Beautiful, great book. And in his book, he talks about how they surveyed black communities and found out that like 80% of black communities don't rock with defund the police. You know, so like we're in such a weird time, man. Right. And I don't know what to make of it all. I think I'm just trying to be present, love my wife, love my family, have hard conversations, get people in the room that disagree, hash it out, and hopefully we move on. You know, hopefully we get better. Hopefully we progress as people. Because I don't know what the future holds. I'm glad that Trump's not in office because I felt like he was a very polarizing figure, and the way he would talk about stuff, even though some of his policies was okay, but the way he would communicate was like a WWE character. You know what I mean? And it's like that's not how you win people over. You know, like that's a way to get clicks and get clout, but that's not how you win people over. And so I'm happy that he's not involved. I am hopeful for DeSantis, but I'm also not holding my breath. You know what I mean? But I feel like at least he's less divisive. Like at least he's less like polarizing. And so, but the folks on the left are no better. You know, the folks on the left are nuts right now with all the trans stuff and the gender ideology. And it's bad, bro. It's bad. So if you're just a follower of Jesus, you just like, all right, well, listen, what's the lesser of two evils? You know,
you know, with that, I used to, like I said, growing up, I used to be hardcore Democratic, but like you said, with the way that they're going with things now, I don't consider myself Democratic or Republican anymore. Like I'm just an independent thinker because I don't agree with everything, and I'm sure, like you said, you did a special on it, like. You know, like people who used to be Democratic now are probably somewhere in the middle. Whereas they used to be on the completely opposite side, but things have changed so much that it's kind of like, well, where do I fit in? I am progressive on some issues and I'm conservative on others. But they make it so polarizing that it's hard. It's almost like you got to draw the line and pick a side. You're either going to be conservative or progressive, and you can't be both.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I mean, I would say if you were center left 2008 to 2012, like remember those issues, right? And remember where the center left was. Like Obama was against gay marriage. People forget that. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of crazy to think about. So if you were center left when Obama was running 08 and 2012, bro, you're far right now. You're far. Like if your ideas stayed the same, you're far. Like, hey, like I don't think that should be happening. I think we should limit abortions, as much as we can. And I think we should figure out healthcare. Like that's considered you're on the right end of the spectrum, and then the right feels like they've kind of reshuffled, and then the folks on the far right is just like that's like next level like nutso land. And so it's a weird time, man. So I don't know how this stuff is gonna go. I think I don't know. I have no idea, man. I just want to love my family and lead them well, and I think the rest of it, God got it. God's not finished.
Amen. LNF.
Absolutely. Let me let's wrap up with this last question. Can you leave the audience with just a thought on why it's so important to be ready in season and out of season? We look at you, right? You had the opportunity to be on No Jumper, Slim and Thick, and these are great opportunities for you to speak to people who are non-believers who believed one thing, because we were hearing so many different things about Christ or whatever that were not true or just unread or whatever. What can you share with believers, on the importance of being ready in season and out?
Wow, that's a great question. I think from the overflow of a gospel-centered point of view, I think we can then position ourselves. Like once we know that we're saved by grace and that we're accepted and that God loves us and that he doesn't just love us, he likes us, right? And that Jesus like dealt with the sin, right? I think once we work through that, then I go, okay, now what does kingdom look like on this side of eternity? What does kingdom look like on this side of eternity? And I feel like my advice to people, and this is going to sound, this is going to sound like it doesn't make sense, but my advice to people would be like, if you're a follower of Jesus, you got the salvation part down, and you want to be ready in season and out of season, what you really need to do is build margin in your life. And that for me means a holistic margin, meaning like I have margin in my finances because I have an emergency fund. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? I have margin in my marriage because we have a good ability to communicate with each other. So we're not storing up any resentment, right? I have margin in my business because I'm able to monetize in different ways. I have margin in my health and my fitness. I have margin with my so the more margin you can build, the less desperation there is. And when there's not desperation involved, then you can really figure out ways to go from just being dysfunctional, which is how I grew up, dysfunctional household, to becoming a functional human, like a stable, functional human, to then flourishing. And I think what Christians try to do is we try to go from dysfunctional to flourishing. And you don't want to go from dysfunctional to flourishing. You don't want to go from being broke to being rich. You don't want to go from, right? Like you don't have the capacity to handle this. So my advice to people would be figure out what areas you need to work on. And we all have areas we need to work on, right? And I'm the chief of confessing the areas I'm working on in real time. Figure out the areas you need to work on and become a functional, solid, capable person first. And then the flourishing will come. And then you're ready in season, out of season. Because if it was 5 years ago and Adam 22 hit me up, I might be on tour right now. I might be doing a college show right now. I wouldn't have been able to make that happen. If it was 5 years before that, I'd be working a Joe job. I'd be working somewhere and I couldn't take off on a Monday afternoon and drive up to Burbank and do his pod. But because there's margin and because I have flexibility and because I've spent decades getting out of debt, working on my marriage, right, building a stable household, it's from the overflow of the gospel. Like it is from the overflow of the gospel because, man, God's been so good to me. Jesus has been so good to me while I was an enemy, while I was one of the people yelling, crucify him. He still died for me, and the hero dies for the villains. He was so good to me. The least I could do is figure out how to live in a way that honors and brings glory to him. That requires me being shrewd, being wise, building margin. And so that would be my advice, man, I think is figure out ways. What are the things that we all know, hey, I need to work on this area for this season. What are the, whether it's, I might need to make a bilateral career move. I might need to, I might need to get this area in check. And so that would be my advice, man, because I don't want people to think that going from dysfunctional to flourishing is lit. It's not. It'll ruin you. Most people who got issues that get rich become broke again. And it's the same thing with anything else. Most people who've never learned how to handle a little bit of attention and be humble, when they get a lot of a bit of attention, become absolute morons and jerks, and it ruins them. And so that would be my advice, man, is figure out of this overflow, now that we're talking kingdom, how can we build in margin into our lives? And I think that's what will make us most confident. And by the way, this is specifically for the Western context of the economy that we're in the system that we're in here in the West. I can't speak to people in other continents, if you in India or in China or North Korea. Everything I described following Jesus could get you killed in those places. Not India, but like China. North. So I'm speaking specifically to a Western context of people who are of able body and sound mind. You know what I mean? So I'm speaking to a very specific person because I don't want to like throw out these generalities and not be specific.
Wow. That was so many nuggets. So many gems from that, man. Like,
I'll drop my own little sound effects. Can y'all hear my sound effects? Y'all can't hear my sound effects.
Oh, nah.
It's all good. I thought it was piping those too. But yeah.
It's all right. It's all good. It's all good. Listen, at this point, we're gonna wrap up the show. Ruslan, man, thank you so much for taking time out and rocking with us, man. We really appreciate you, giving us an hour just to really get to know you on a more personal level, to hear your heart, to understand how you handle business, how you handle family, how you critique others, when it comes to different things, man. This podcast, you can listen back to it 7 times and learn something new each time.
I appreciate that.
It's definitely worthy, and man, we definitely gonna have you back at some point, man. We really appreciate it, man. But
appreciate you
at this
guys,
point, listen, everybody that's been locked in with us, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for rocking with us, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe on the audio formats, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you catch your podcast at. Make sure you check us out there, man. You can hit us up at any time at Rise Up Worldwide, because that's where we are, and we will get back to you. We thank you, and we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, right here on Rise Up Worldwide. Stay tuned.